Hello, successful people.
Welcome back to the Iron Fire Success Channel. Welcome back, our subscribers.
Thank you for subscribing, and if you're new here, welcome. This is a channel where we give you information, motivation, and inspiration to overcome obstacles and achieve your goals and your dreams. I'm TK.
And I'm Mo.
In today's video, we are going to break down and share with you what we did leading up to signing the contract with our builder. That's going to include the information about buying our land, how much we paid to buy it, and what we put down in order to get our design started, and also the earnest money we paid to the builder. Now, before we get started, let's just put it out there that each builder does things slightly differently. So while this is going to be our experience, your experience might be different, but use this information to evaluate your building experience and choosing your builder. First, we're going to give you a general outline of the steps leading up to getting your house built. So when you're doing a full custom home, first step is normally you buy the land. Second step is that you hire a builder. Third step is you get a construction loan and you pay interest payments on the construction loan during the time your house is being built. And the last step is at the end, the construction loan is converted into a regular mortgage.
Right.
Now, like we said, every process is not going to be exactly the same, but generally those are the 4 steps. If you would like to know more about exactly how builders determine what your final contract price is going to be, we'll put it up here and we'll put in the description box a link to our other video, Custom Home Pricing Explained, Let's Do the Math. And in that video, we break it down. But for today, we're just going over up to the point where we actually sign the contract on the house.
Okay, let's start by talking about purchasing the lot. So we bought our lot back in 2019 from a developer in a planned community. Now in a planned community, the developer will buy a large piece of land and then develop it by building roads, bringing utilities for the entire development or the entire community, and then they will also parcel out that piece of land into smaller lots of varying sizes. Now our lot is a 1-acre lot that we bought for about $100,000 back in 2019. Now we're still working. We weren't in town yet. We were not living in Texas, but we were planning on moving a few years, and because the lots were going really fast in that community, we wanted to go ahead and buy our lot ahead of time. Another thing to remember is that mortgage for the lot is different from your regular mortgage. So in purchasing that lot, we paid $10,000 down, and then we had to pay $3,000 to close, and that was just for a mortgage, just for that lot. And during the time before we actually started building, and it was 2.5 years, we had to pay a mortgage on that land. And then, of course, we also had to pay our HOA during that time and taxes. So the first year, the taxes were about $2,000. The second year, they were about the same. And then because the land value in the community increased year after year, this year our taxes, believe it or not, are over $3,000 for that same lot. However, the values of those lots are now selling for almost $300,000 in that community. The good thing is also is that as the land value increased, it impacted our loan. It means we had some equity when we got ready to do our construction loan for that land.
Now, Mo, tell them also how, so we had to pay the taxes once a year, but we paid that mortgage every month.
A mortgage for a lot is, the interest rate is a little bit higher than your normal loan. So yeah, we had to pay that again for the 2.5 years until we got ready to build.
$1,000 a month.
So, yeah.
right? That we
Yeah.
had to pay. So
Yeah, I went
that's so people know if you do that, one, it's not like a regular mortgage where you have 30 years to pay it off. And two, you have to be prepared to make that payment along with paying for the rest of your life until your house is built. Okay, so after buying the land and making the mortgage payments and the taxes, in 2021, we moved to Texas. Now, we moved here in the spring of 2021 and started looking for a builder. We weren't sure who we were going to go with at that point. We started interviewing builders, trying to figure out what they offered standard, how much they were going to charge us to build the home. And if you go on ironfiresuccess.com website, I'll put the link in the description box, you can find a PDF of the actual sheet we used, a checklist to evaluate builder upgrades and offerings. So once we selected a builder, one of the other issues we had is it was difficult for us to figure out how much money were we going to have to pay them to get started and how much earnest money were we going to have to pay. So we're going to share that with you now and tell you what we did. So we found a builder that uses fixed price contracting that we really liked. Remember, at first we were a little bit leery about that because it just seemed weird getting locked into the price up front for the lifetime of the build. And we were thinking, well, what if we agree and it's more money than what we need to pay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the more we learned about how this process worked, we like stability. So having a fixed price was more comfortable for us because, as some folks know, and some will say even in some of the videos you may watch, that the price fluctuated.
Yeah.
And they had to pay some things during the build or even after the build. The price changed.
Right, and the final price was different than the original price. So we thought, okay, this would be a good thing if we just use fixed price. And we'll make future videos that break down the fixed price contracting process so you'll know exactly how that works. But we're going to give a general outline of what happened to us using fixed price. So it starts off with a design phase, which takes about, I'd say, 4 to 6 months before you contract. And this is because you need to meet with your design team, which is usually the architect, the sales consultant, our realtor, the interior designer, and that's where they actually start working on the floor plan. Now, you can choose from a floor plan that they already did for somebody else. You can come with your own floor plan from some other architect, or you can do what we did, collect floor plans from Pinterest and download them and say, we want, maybe this living room, this dining room, a shower like this. We pieced it together.
Yeah, we pretty much designed our own.
Yeah. So we started off knowing that we wanted to design our own home and we weren't going to use a ready-made floor plan.
Now, one thing about the ready-made floor plans, though, is the builder has a better idea how much it costs to build that particular house or that plan because they built it before.
That's true. That's true. It's a lot easier to know that in advance. That's a good point.
Yeah.
So our first meeting was us signing a design agreement. That was the agreement to get started working with the architect and that design team on designing our home. There was a fee to get started with the design agreement, and that fee, should we decide to actually sign a contract with that builder and build with them, would be credited towards our earnest money.
Yeah, and that fee that we paid was actually it was like an architectural design fee, and they wanted at least half of that up front. When we initiated that process, we paid like $2,500.
Yeah, and what was interesting about that is because we were in the preliminary design process, there were a list of options that we could choose from if we wanted them to do other types of surveys and analysis to help figure out, where the house should be positioned on the lot, what kind of soil or ground we had, so they can get foundation costs and construction costs estimated a little bit better. And I remember we didn't opt for a whole lot of that. I think we just wanted the land survey.
They just gave us a list of things that we could have paid for up front. But, got to reiterate, it only cost us about $2,500 to get started.
Right.
And we were not contracted yet.
Right. So what wound up happening is we paid them that money, and then say about 2.5 months later, we paid the money for the land survey, the preliminary land survey. That's why by about 90 days into the process, we had already paid them almost $6,000.
Yeah, including the other piece for the design of the home, because during this entire period, we were meeting with an architect who was surveying our ideas. They were interviewing, they actually interviewed us to see what we like, what kind of home we want. Now, we had spent 2 years figuring out what kind of home we wanted, how we wanted to function, how we wanted to work for us, and all these things. So by the time we got to our design meeting, we were ready. I think we had like a little napkin or a piece of paper, so we knew exactly what we wanted, and we had an amazing designer who just brought it all to life. I tell you, you go through this process, you'll see it's an amazing thing, seeing your dreams just come down on a piece of paper.
So when we think about the order in which things happened, it was around November of 2021 when we decided we wanted to start this with the builder. We had our first meeting in December of 2021. And so at that point, we'd only given them around $2,000, $2,500 max. So it wasn't until like January or February when now we were further along in the design process and they needed to do that survey. That's when we gave them the rest of that money. Altogether, it was about $5,900 by around February. So now, once you start getting farther into the design process, you start eliminating things, adding things in, moving things around. We're selecting our structural options. We started selecting our interior design upgrades. And the way they do it is we're estimating about how much we would want to spend in a particular area to make sure it's included in the budget.
Well, one thing before that we did, by now we paid about $11,000, because I think we'd already paid the rest of our earnest money.
We didn't. No.
I thought we did.
We didn't. We didn't pay the rest of our earnest money until we were satisfied with the final design and we knew we were going to contract with them. That's when we paid the rest of the earnest money, because what was happening is everything leading up to you saying, okay, I like this, we're going to go with you, is optional for you. You hadn't agreed to go with that builder yet. You hadn't signed a final contract. So it's when they presented us with, this is how much money it's going to cost you for us to build your house. That's when we said, okay, we'll take it. Here's the rest of your earnest money. And that's where the $11,000 came. That's why in total, where's the paper? I got to figure it out. How much did we pay altogether by the time we contracted?
About $17,000.
Yeah. And so now we were done. We knew exactly how much our house was going to cost. It was not going to go up. If anything, there are things where the builder and we estimated a certain cost on the higher end of an estimation, so that when the actuals come in lower, the actual final cost of our house is going to be less money than what we thought it would be, which is a great feeling. You know, there's nowhere to go but down, so it will never go up.
One of the advantages of doing a fixed price is that you don't have this fluctuating situation. Everything that, all the money you're spending, you know what you're spending because you know what you have allocated for different types of upgrades. Oh, and because we chose a builder that gave us the structural upgrades that we were looking for, we got most of them included. Again, we have videos about that too. We were able to really control our spending during the build. Well, we're still building right now, but we're able to control that because we have that fixed price contract.
Exactly. Those are good points too.
So we should also add that When we started the design phase back in November of 2021, from November 2021 through January of 2022, I'll get it right eventually, we were researching lenders, and we had to apply for pre-approval because there were some time limits in our contract that we were already aware of. The builder kind of gave us a pre-look at their contract, so we knew that we were going to have to get pre-approval for our construction loan at some point. So we were just preparing for that. So by April of 2022, when we signed the contract, all we had to do was give the lender paperwork.
Right. So, and the point of doing that is so that this way, when we're presented with a dollar amount of the contract, we knew in advance that we would be approved for that amount, and we know how much the mortgage would be, at the end of all of this. So, we didn't have any concern about not qualifying.
Right. And we closed in June.
Yeah. So in later videos, we're going to break down for you the construction loan process. That was something that we were looking for information about when we were building our home, about how do construction loans work, because they're different than regular mortgages, and what kind of payments do you have to make. It's interest-only payments while your house is being built, but we also wanted to know, well, how much money is that? What does it look like? Because it's October and our house isn't going to be built until the spring of 2023, we don't know exactly just yet. So when we get to the end, we'll definitely share all the information about what we paid for the construction loan. If anybody is wondering why we don't say, exactly what the builder does or show their documents or exactly what we paid, there's a few reasons. One, there are certain things about a builder's process that are proprietary and confidential. We're still building, so we can't just put that out there on YouTube. The second thing is, we still have jobs. So we don't want our coworkers and our boss to know exactly how much money we pay for our house. My boss might think I don't need a raise, because I do, because we're building this house.
Right.
So maybe, after we're not working, we can put that out there on the street. But for right now, that information, we're not getting into that level of detail. But what we can tell you, and what's comfortable and legal to share, we definitely will make future videos. Structural upgrades, interior design upgrades, what we chose, what we paid, all of that, we'll give it to you. But you have to like, you have to subscribe, and you have to hit the notification bell so that you will know when we post that information on our channel.
So thanks again for joining in with us. Until next time, be peaceful and count your blessings.